Hey, what's up, friends? You got Gypsy back here today with OSD round three. I can't talk too loudly because people are asleep right now, but yeah, we'll try and do our best. But yeah, yeah, as I said, we're on round three. Might sound kind of weird because I haven't uploaded any round one or two content, but my opponents for round one and two were actually inactive, so we did get the activity win for those two rounds, which was definitely like obviously it's fine, but it's a bit annoying because I wasn't able to have the content up on the channel. But yeah, we're straight into round three up against Fruitdealer, who is a pretty well-known tournament player. Definitely a solid player. He's an OST. He's an OST, known an OST player. He was yep. I've seen him play in previous OSTs in the past. He's definitely a solid opponent. So yeah, this is the first game of our best of three. And as you can see, my opponent's brought a pretty interesting team. You see the Alolan Ninetales there, which is typically paired with setup sweepers, so he does have the Zygarde and the Volcarona. He's got the Mew hiding behind Metagross, which is a secondary Aurora user, in conjunction with Ninetales' Hail, which is pretty nice bring. Um, and then he's got some form of Keldeo, potentially Scarfed, which is looking at the matchup, looking at the kind of team structure. But I'm rocking a really fun team built by my boy Ricardo. Huge shout outs to my man Ricardo, who actually got on call with me before OST, and we discussed strategy, we discussed teams and such, and he passed me this team for game one, which is a really fun team that he actually made, featuring Swords Dance Tapu Bulu with Rocky MZ. We've got nice bulky Metagross Jacking, Mega Scizor. Then we have Specs Ash Ninja, which is still amazing. Scarfed Garchomp. We have AV Tornadus, which is a pretty decent switch into stuff like Tapu Fini. A very nice mon to handle Stall with knockoff and Hurricane Utes and all that stuff. And then we have a Landorus, who is a Swords Dance rocking variant, which can really pressure Stall, as well as it's got Smackdown Earthplate, so it's real nice versus Stall, as well as pressuring defog is not allowing you to get them to defog hazards that freely. So we're gonna jump right into it. I figured he'd lead off with his Alolan Ninetales, as it is a pretty obvious lead on a team like this. However, if he did lead with something like Volcarona, trying to catch my Scizor on his obvious Alolan Ninetales lead, as this was in his lead spot, as well as the fact that, like, it's so obvious on a team like this, he's going to want to set up Orval as soon as possible. So I did think he was potentially possible that he could lead with his Volcarona. However, he does choose to lead with Ninetales, but what the lead Greninja does is it covered the Volcarona lead. It also covered a Mew stealth locking lead, and the unpredictability of Greninja means that he may fear me to have a Gunk Shot. A Gunk Shot Greninja, and I may have led with that, expecting his Ninetales to stay in. So I'm going to U-turn this turn. Obviously, I can't really touch Ninetales if he is like he can live Specs Hydro from non-Ash Greninja and Oko me with Moonblast, so I'm not trying to stay in and take the hit. And I did expect him to scout for the Gunk Shot here, so I do go for the U-turn, and he brings in his Keldeo, and we can go right out into a Torn here. Now he's going to get Lefty's back, which reveals that he's more than likely a sub-Carmine variant, which is a bit annoying, but I do have Tornadus, so as long as I don't miss too many Hurricanes, we should be in a pretty solid spot. But he's going to switch up this turn as we go for the knockoff. Knockoff covered him staying in, removing his lefties, meaning that if he does manage to set up some Carmines, he's not too much of a threat. He won't be gaining all that health back, if I miss Hurricanes and such. Knockoff also gives me some pretty vital information on the Mew, as he does reveal to be a light clay variant. So this is another Auravel setter for his team, as Mew can set up that Auravel with the Hail Up. So yeah, pretty cool tech. So we're going to go for U-turn this turn, as Mew can really set up the Veils without much problem, because my Torn can't really damage it too much. So he does get up Auravel, and I am just going to fire for U-turn, expecting him to switch out there in case he wanted to get up his rocks. Sorry, in case he feared me going for like a Specs Dark Pulse. But we're going to go into my Landorus this turn, as he does just go for the Explosion. So nice like Suicide Mew, as Landorus choose even though I'm not defensive with the Intimidate drop, it wasn't doing too much. He's going to bring in Keldeo here, which is obviously a problem. I'm going to go out to my Taunt, who can take this on, barring I get too many misses. So I'm going to go for the Hurricane this turn, the knockoff this turn, as I know if he does set up a sub, I can break it with Hurricane, provided I hit, even with the Aura Veil up. But he's going to dodge our first Hurricane, and we are going to take that Scald now. All I need is one Hurricane to put this thing in range of Earthquake for my Scarf Garchomp. As you see, his team has no resist to Earthquake. It's a very Earthquake, which is going to be really solid, so I just need to get one Hurricane off. Had I hit my last Hurricane, he would have been in range to die to a second one. But we are going to hit this Hurricane and actually crit, so had I hit that first Hurricane, he would have died to a second, provided I hit, but we do catch a lucky break there, and we do get a crit on the Keld, so that's definitely nice for us. But he's going to bring this Metagross here. I'm going to preserve Taunt, as it can check the Volcarona decently well. It can also potentially check the Ninetales late game, but he's going to go into his Metagross here, as I'm going to go into my Scizor, and he's just going to go for the Power Up Punch, so very interesting set. I'm this turn going to go for the Roost, I believe. I'm just wanting to get back to full. As he does, he's now +2, so this is definitely a scary threat. He's definitely out of range. He can't kill my Greninja in one turn with Bullet Punch from Dark Pulse, but keeping health on Greninja may be really clutch for extreme speed from Zygarde later on in the match. So I'm going to go out to my Garchomp here. I don't think this thing is probably going to have Bullet Punch, but it might, you never know. I'm just going to take him out with Earthquake here, so he probably didn't have Bullet Punch on his set, as a Scarfed Garchomp is one of the most commonly used Scarfers, so he probably should have known that I was Scarfed Jump, otherwise I wouldn't have brought it in, but maybe he just didn't have Bullet Punch there. That Earthquake crit was irrelevant, he was guaranteed in range to die to EQ there, so nothing really too bad about that play, but Ninetales is going to come in, and I don't want to sack off Jump here because it's definitely important, as he's going to go for the Aura Veil this turn. I brought in Scizor in case he did decide to go for the Ice attack. He hasn't revealed a Scarfer on his team yet, so I did think that the Ninetales may be a Scarfed variant, hence why I went into Scizor here. It also let me defog the Aura Veil if he did decide to set it up, as I do defog on his switch out to Volcarona, so now I can just make the switch out this turn, go out to my Garchomp, who I know can tank even like a Fire Blast, but he goes for a Shattered Psyche, so he reveals Z-Move Psychic on his Volcarona, which is a really nice way of handling stuff like Toxapex, which nicely checks Volcarona, so a really cool bring on my opponent's part. But this turn I am going to go for the Earthquake, as his Volcarona is going to get chipped down by the Hail, but he is going to take out my Garchomp this turn. Earthquake dealt the most damage to Volk. I didn't want to go for Outrage and have him bring in his Ninetales the following turn, so Greninja is going to go for the Hydra here, as this allows me to go into my Ash form, and this is crucial because now Ninetales is in guaranteed range of Hydra. Hydra, I don't think it was a roll, I think I actually guaranteed O-Code, but like I mentioned earlier, this is the only one on his team that could potentially be Scarfed at this point, and I die to a Moonblast from an offensive Scarfed Ninetales. So I don't want to risk it because Greninja is such an important way to wear down the Zygarde, especially if this is a fat Zygarde. This is going to be really troublesome to take down. Although I do have Swords Dance Bulu, I have no information on this set, and given that he does have like Aura Veil, it could very well be a bulky Zygarde, so Greninja is definitely vital in this late game, so I am going to switch out this turn, just wanting to scout for the Moonblast as I go into my Taunt, as he does just go for the Aura Veil there, so I could have him with Hydro Pump, but he had to like play for the choke, I suppose, in that sense, or he had to play for me not wanting to risk hitting Hydro, so I'm going to go out to Taunt, as my Scizor is important for the Zygarde, and if he did want to go for Moonblast there, I would have comfortably lived because I'm a Solvest variant and I would have got out valuable information. I'm going to go for the knockoff here, as he does reveal to be Light Clay, so that's pretty annoying because we could have taken him out with Ninja, but we also could have missed, which would have been annoying too. But sacking Taunt here will let me defog with Scizor the next turn, as he does choose to go into Zygarde now, so This defog means that I get the evasion drop on his Zygarde, which guarantees I can hit him with Hydro, which is very important, but this thing is definitely a threat. Even without the Oravel up, he's extremely bulky, so he's going to be in range, you know, for his sub not to be taken out by my Sizzle in one hit. So I'm going to Bullet Punch this turn. Reason I Bullet Punch is I knew one U-turn wouldn't take out his sub, especially because he would have outsped me and gone for a coil, so he would have been would have U-turned out with Sizzle whilst he still had a sub up, which would have been very bad for my team. But what going for Bullet Punch first does is it allows me to U-turn the following turn, breaking his sub, as he is a lefty's bulk up variant, coil variant, which is a massive threat to my team. So this turn I am going to go into my Blue. I wanted to get the Grassy Terrain up and potentially Swords Dance up on this Zygarde and take it out. In hindsight, I really could have gone out to my Greninja, but I didn't know his set. I didn't know if he was like an offensive set, in which case Extreme Speed would have OHKO'd me. Now that he's at +2, so I just go out to my Tapu Bulu here as he sets up another sub. I wanted to go for my Leech Seed there, but I didn't know if this Zygarde was a fast variant, as I haven't taken any damage with my Mon, so I haven't like determined his investment. So if he was a fast Zygarde and he subbed before I could Leech Seed, then I would have been in a really bad position. So I just go for Woodhammer, knowing that now I will be able to break his sub with the Woodhammer, as he just goes for another coil. So yeah, this thing is a huge threat, and I figure that if I Leech Seed this turn, I can get some recovery up if he does want to go for the sub, but he does just go for the E-Speed, and that does a shit ton to us. So I'm going to go into my Lando here and just get the Intimidate drop, as he plays it nicely and goes for the coil on my switch out, which is definitely annoying. I kind of have to sack here, and honestly I just played really badly around this Zygarde in the end game. I sack off my Blue, go back out into my Lando and just get the next drop. I go into my Greninja here, sorry. I could have lived a E-Speed from that range if he was like not attack invested, if he was just a really bulky Zygarde, but it turns out that he was an offensive Zygarde, just like a really fat offensive Zygarde. So yeah, Ninja bites the dust, and we're going to catch an L for our first game. So definitely disappointing. I felt like I had control over this game for the majority of it, but I just really let the potential of a Scarfed Ninetales spook me in the kind of final turns of Ninetales being in. Like I could have OHKO'd it with Greninja and then easily done over 50 with Hydro on this Zygarde, which would have forced him to attack or take me out. So I guess you could say I choked in that sense, but yeah, I just definitely could have played a lot better on this Zygarde, but that's just the way the match went. So this is going to be game 1, and I was confident that I could bring it back in game 2. Definitely this team is a fun one to use. I just definitely played poorly around the Zygarde in the end there, so I'm going to pause it and then we're going to get into game 2. Alright guys, we're back with game 2 against Fruitdealer. This game I'm actually using a team I built myself. I really haven't built much in Sun and Moon yet. I just have been very busy with draft, and the teams I have been using I've been passed by my friends because I'm lucky enough to have amazing builders as mates. So but this is, yeah, I've only built like 2 teams before this one, but this team I'm actually really proud of. It's a very fun team. It's kind of anti-meta in a sense, but yeah, it consists of Swords Dance, the same Lando set we used in the previous game, except it's actually Rocky MZ this time over Earthplate. Swords Dance, Stone Edge, EQ lets me Pressure Stall, and you know, having rocks is obviously crucial. So then we have yeah, my boy Mega Slowbro. So yeah, rocking an old relic, seen I guess a bit in ORS. Definitely an underrated mon in Sumo. It's a Carmine variant. Can definitely act as a solid win con in a lot of matchups, but more to the point, it is one of the best checks to stuff like Mega Metagross, which is just you know, tearing the meta in half. That thing is broken, and Slowbro gives literally no fucks about Mega Metagross. This thing takes between 28 to 34 from a max attack Metagross Thunder Punch that's super effective, boosted by Tough Claws. So yeah, Slowbro just laughs at Mega Metagross all day long. Can't get crit. This thing is amazing. It shoots U-turns with Pheromosa. when I start calm mining up, this thing just becomes a behemoth that you cannot take down unless you're toxic and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely a huge threat. It's such a fun one to use. Then we have AV Tang, which is a pretty obligatory check to stuff like Ash Greninja. Also really solid for you know, just ground spam stuff like Lando. Zygarde is annoying. I have HPS in this set, so Zygarde isn't you know, that much of a nuisance to this team. But yeah, Tang is just really solid. Like it speaks for itself. It's just an amazing one. Then we have another nice one in this team. Shout out to Maddie, Brolic from the MPL. We have Magena. So Magena, it's a Carmine set. It's a Bolt Beam Hidden Power Fire set. Focus Blast is like obviously better in a lot of cases. But you know, I don't want to miss, especially in OST. I've been getting locked constantly in Mons, and Hidden Power Fire means that I can OHKO stuff like Ferrothorn and +1. It does a ton of stuff like Metagross. It does like half to Metagross, which is keen. Yeah, Calm Mind Lefties is just a really solid check to stuff like Tapu Lele, Megazam. It can really break stall because I do have T-Bolt on this set, so it's just such a fun one to use, and a lot of people don't expect Calm Mind. You know, they expect like Trick Room, Life Orb. They expect like Assault Vest for, you know, Lele, stuff like that. Ninja. It's a very fun one, very underrated. Then we have Haze, Rapid Spin, T-Spikes on my Tentacle. T-Spikes really aid in both my Calm Mind users setting up and sweeping teams. Haze is for stuff like Volcarona. This set 1v1s Volcarona with ease. As long as you know, particularly if it's poisoned. If it's taken a round of T-Spikes, then Volcarona is no problem at all. But this mon is really solid as it can haze Volcarona and allow my Scarfer on this team, which is my next mon Infernape, to come in and revenge it. Which is really nice. So yeah, Tenta's just a really solid mon. It helps versus all the Vinecoons running around, as well as just other Calm Minders. It can allow me to beat stall quite nicely, as I can burn stuff like Toxapex. I can chip down Toxapex. I can set up T-Spikes pretty freely, which is just really nice, and it does allow me to absorb T-Spikes. Obviously, Slowbro and Tangrowth don't want to be taking the poison, so yeah, having Tenta in the back is really nice. It's also a decent check to stuff like Pheromosa, which is really causing a lot of trouble, especially in the Specs and Quividance set, so yeah, Tenta is definitely a solid one. Then we have my Scarfed Infernape, which is basically a safety check to stuff like +1 Volcarona, as well as Zardwire. If you look at my team, Zardwire is a bit annoying. Zardwire doesn't really have a switch in, like Tenta can switch in, but it can't do much back. As I don't have Toxic, I've got T-Spikes, and Skull does literally 0 in the sun, so yeah, my Ape can switch in and Stone Edge for the kill. I can also revenge Volcarona, as I mentioned. And this thing actually OHKOs Mega Metagross with Fair Blitz, and that's definitely something nice. It's also a decent Pheromosa check, if it's not a Scarfed Mosa. So looking at my opponent's team, he's brought a very fat team. He's brought Suicune. I did scout his replays. He does love Suicune, especially Vinecoon, so that's definitely something I'm going to have to, you know, take into account. But I do have great checks to Suicune on my team. He's got Fat Mark, which traps Lele, traps Psychics. Hippo with Hippo and Zygarde, so double grounds, plus Bulu, which is probably a Swords Dance set. And just Grassy Terrain is just annoying. Grassy Terrain synergizes nicely with Mark too, so yeah, very nice team. A very fat team, and plus Scum, so yeah, pretty interesting looking team, but I did feel as though I had the, yeah, definitely had the capability of winning this, so we're going to lead off. He's going to lead off with his Blue, as I am going to lead off with my Lando. And this turn, I don't expect him to stay in. He's probably not going to want to risk me Sky Striking him, but he does choose to set up here. And the fact that I have shown that I'm faster with Swords Dance means that he's probably going to switch out, which he does. But if he doesn't, I don't want to take the risk of him like making a weird play turn 1 and just staying in to potentially die to a Sky Strike and, you know, knock me out with something like Woodhammer or +1, as he does bring in his Hippodon to tank the Continental Crush. Still has a decent chunk, considering that was a resisted hit and Hippo's fat. But now I get my rocks up, which is really nice. I can break Scarm sturdy, start chipping down the Suicune in the muck. but he's going to whirlwind me out here, and he's going to bring me into Slowbro, which is, you know, one of the best things he could have brought me out into. I'm just going to fire off a Scald. I don't lose much by it, as he does decide to slack off with Hippo. So interesting play. He does potentially risk a burn there, and you know, had I like calm-minded there or made it double, he could have brought back his Hippo to you know, check Lando more reliably. But he's going to switch into his Muck here, and he's going to get burnt, which is nice because now Pursuit won't be doing as much. But this does mean we can just go right back out into our Landers this turn, as his Muck is not looking too good. Not going to want to stay in there, but he just has a pretty safe switch out into his Tapu Bulu here, as I'm just going to SD up on his switch out, as Stone Edge will do a chunk to this Bulu, just missing out on the kill. It was actually a roll to kill there, but we don't get the roll. I would have needed a really high roll to kill, so it's whatever. Like it's you know, it's fair enough. I've already got the burn on the Muck, so I can't complain too much. But his Horn Leech is going to give him back a ton of health. And right here I wanted to Earthquake on his switch out, but Scum was just as likely to come in, easily being able to tank a +2 Stone Edge. But he does just go out to Zygarde, which is pretty safe because my grassy terrain won't be doing too much with Earthquake to the Zygarde. So we do get a crit on Stone Edge, which is definitely nice, but this Zygarde's going to be getting back a ton of health, and he does have the extreme speed potential that he can just go for here. But he does choose to go for 1,000 arrows here, so this is a very fat Zygarde with the lefties as well, as I am just going to go for the Hidden Power Ice this turn. No, I knock off there, sorry, I knock off predicting the, this game happened a few days ago. I knock off predicting the potential Suicune to come in, because had I Hidden Power Ice there, his Suicune would have had a free switch in. I would have taken nothing and would have been able to like sub up and protect and start doing what Vinekune does, versus my Tangrowth, aka stalling out my only way of breaking its sub. So knockoff does knock off the Mucks. Assault Vest, I stay in here and go for the Earthquake, as his Poison Jab would do nothing considering he's burnt, and if he does want to knock off my Assault Vest, I'm fine with that, because Assault Vest is only really useful versus the Coon, and I have enough bulk to tank Scalds anyway, so it's not a big deal, and I have Tentacruel in the back. So I'm going to Hidden Power Fire here on the Blue, just in case he wanted to get Wise and Swords Dance up on my switch out. But I don't really have any reason to switch out. I'm just going to start spamming Hidden Power Ice, which is going to take out the Blue eventually. But I go into my Landers here, because I did expect this thing to be a Z move. Just looking at it, Simi didn't have another Z move, and Z Blue is very common. And obviously I do want to keep Tangrowth around. It is extremely important for the Zygarde. It's important for the Hippo and the Suicune, so Landorus isn't doing too much, considering he does have Scarm and Hippo to definitely tank hits with ease. So I'm going to go out and sack it to the Z move, as he does go for the all-out pummeling. So, you know, we lose Lando, but it's a trade I'm willing to make. Majourner can come in here and grab its kill with Ice Beam, which is going to mean that we get the +1 and he gets the seeds up, but depending on what he goes into, we should be able to fire for T-Bolt here, as he does bring in his Suicune. He's going to go for the sub this turn, just wanting to scout if I guess my moveset, if I had like Fluid Cannon, or if I was like Ice Beam, Flash Cannon, like Hidden Power, Fire or something like that, I wouldn't be able to touch this Coon, but I do have T-Bolt, and I know he's got sub, so I know this turn he's more than likely going to either sub up again, knowing that I'm seated, or go for the Protect. So I can go out into my Tentacruel this turn. And this game is going to get a bit stally, because like I do have Tenta. I'm going to start skipping some turns soon, but I set up my T-Spikes, as my Tentacruel can pressure at the Scarm with Skull Burns. I can spin here. Eventually, after I get both my layers up, his Suicune, his Hippowdon, and his Zygarde are going to be really pressured, and they're going to have a much harder time setting up versus my team. But he decides to start setting up Carmines versus my Tentacruel. And that's no worries at all, because we do have the Haze, and yeah, this match is going to get really long and stally here, as the Suicune is going to start attempting to kind of stall out my Mon's way of hitting it. Obviously his pressure makes it very hard for my team to reliably check it in the long run, considering he has Protect as well. So I'm going to start skipping some turns here, because I don't want to bore you guys to death, but basically I'm going to whittle down his Suicune's PP for a little bit with Tangrowth, and just start pivoting back in between Tangrowth, Tentacruel, and Slowbro, because basically, like, if I can wear this thing out of Scalds, then my Slowbro will just win. with Calm Mind and clicking Skull of its own. So I'm going to go into Slowbro here, and it's at this point that I start to set up, because I do want him to start wasting some of his Skulls. I want him to start wasting his Calm Minds and his Protects, as I do have 16 of my own Protects, which of my own Psyshocks, which work out to be about 8 due to pressure, which sucks. But I can just basically start setting up here, wearing out some of his PP, going out into Tentacruel eventually, just the haze, as his Skulls will be doing a decent chunk. You're going to see it does like 19 at plus 3, but 10 isn't burnt yet, so it's not the end of the world, and I can start just whittling down his substitute's health with the Skull, as he does actually get the burn there, which is annoying. I have plenty of PP and Rapid Spin, so like I'm not concerned about, you know, him protecting all my Skulls, as I can continue to pivot between my regenerator mons. So his Suicune is definitely annoying, but if we play this right, we can win out in the long run. I'm going to start switching around to my Tangrowth, as he does Calm Mind there. Switch back into my Tentacruel on his Protect or on his Scald, as he's going to keep scalding my Tentacruel as we do get the haze off. He's going to Calm Mind Scald. This is going to repeat until he takes out my Tentacruel here with Scalds. But in the process, he's going to use up a lot of his own Scalds, which is really nice. He actually needs to attack me, because my Black Sludge is cancelling out the burn damage. So here he's going to start Calm Minding up. We're going to have a little Calm Mind War on my Slowbro and my Suicune. The reason I Mega Evolve is I don't want to get crit, as his Skulls are going to be doing nothing to me. And I can start Calm Minding up, getting to +6. As his Suicune is going to get to +6 of his own. We start spamming Calm Minds, as you know, he doesn't want to start using his Skulls, because if he uses up all of his Skulls, then he has no way of attacking my team, and I can start Calm Minding up with Majerna, you know, forcing him to waste his Protects, and eventually just win with Slowbro. So he's gonna do this for a bit. He's gonna keep subbing, trying to waste all my Psyshock PP, but obviously I want to preserve at least 3 or 4 Psyshocks, so I can 2-hit KO the Suicune, you know, after breaking its sub. Yeah, this is definitely a pretty stally part of the match. This game went on for like, I want to say half an hour, 40 minutes. It was definitely a long match, but yeah, we're gonna start hitting Psyshocks on his substitutes, hitting Skulls, as Skull is a 2-hit KO on his sub. As we do start getting some of these Protect and sub turns, you know, correct, as he's gonna start fishing for the burn. As he does get it, the burn is fine. The burn is obviously annoying, but with the burn nerf, it's not too significant. It just means that I'm going to have to press Skull eventually with Slowbro in this long exchange, as eventually his Suicune is actually going to switch out. He's going to switch out into his Hippodon here, which is interesting play. Like he may have been trying to whirlwind me on a predicted like choke on my part, which would be to switch out to heal up that turn, but he does just go for the Earthquake, so not quite sure. But this will allow him to bring in his Skarmory, and I am going to be able to click Scald here on his taunt. He either could have taunted me, he could have defogged, or he could have gone for the whirlwind there. Either way, Scald was my play. I want to keep Slowbro at +6 if I can help it, as I'm starting to get whittled by the sand and the burn, but Suicune can't really do much. I want to switch out this turn just so I can get my health back with Slack off, as I was taunted there, and I didn't want to be worn down any further with my Slowbro, as this Suicune is now back at neutral, but it's toxic, which is the most important part, as now Slowbro literally just wins because I can start Calm Minding up, healing up, Calm Minding up, and I'll be able to beat this Suicune 1v1, as he does choose to bring in his Zygarde. Now this is totally fine, because earlier I mentioned the calc with Mega Metagross's Thunder Punch versus my Slowbro. This Zygarde is just an example of how strong Slowbro is. So he's going to start cursing up, doing his coil shenanigans with his Zygarde, as I am going to slack off this turn. He's actually going to reveal to be a rest variant of Zygarde. He doesn't pack Sleep Talk, but he's actually going to be a rest Zygarde, which is pretty cool. Definitely pretty cool. Eases its time versus status mons, and we're going to start commenting up. He's at +2, so he's at +2 stab 1,000 arrows. We'll see how much it does to the Slowbro. As his 1,000 arrows does 25%, so that's +2, and it does, yeah, it literally does a quarter of my health. So yeah, Slowbro's a monster. I'm gonna slack off up here, as I know his 1,000 arrows is only gonna be doing like 30-something%, and if I start scalding here, it forces him to rest the next turn unless he wants to just get taken out. And if he does go for 1,000 arrows here, I will live and I will be able to heal up on the Suicune. But I go for the slack off here, knowing that I can easily like be at more health after his next 1,000 arrows than if I had just clicked Scald the previous turn. And what this means is I will be able to rest up on the Suicune, just slack off up in case he does want to protect and go for substitute and stuff, trying to wear me down with burn. As now I am pretty free to start clicking Psyshock or Scald. Really nothing the Suicune can do can win, so he does just forfeit there. So Slowbro coming in clutch, doing what it's built to do, and sweeping teams. So yeah, pretty happy to see my team that I built myself work out in a tour game like this versus such a good player. So that was game 2. We're going to jump into game 3. Alright guys, so we are back with game 3 up against Fruitdealer, and yeah, as you can see, my opponent has brought a pretty threatening offense team. So he's got the Mega Pinsir and the Chomp and the Pheromosa. Kind of weird looking team. You see he's got the Coon again, which is like seems to be one of his staples, and yeah, it's definitely a huge threat versus the team I've got today. So I'm looking a really fun team built by Ricardo. It's like Z Fight, Pheromosa, Spikes, Pharaoh. It's like Fast, Taunt, Tran, and then got like Rocks Lando, Specs Ninja, and Scarf Gengar, the Mosa counter. So, the Mosa check, I guess, not counter. So yeah, it's a pretty fun team, but it doesn't really have the best of answers to Vinekun. It really doesn't appreciate it, and I know that he's gonna have this set. He loves it, and yeah, Crocoon is kind of non-existent on this gen, but it's definitely something that I noticed the matchup. Like Vinekun is definitely going to be a pain to play around, so I'm going to have to like immediately pressure it if he does want to lead off with it. You're going to see I do lead off with Gengar, as he does lead off with Coon. If like for some reason he does decide to sub or Calm Mind turn 1 instead of Protect, he should Protect. It's his play, it lets him scout for Trick. But if for some reason he doesn't and I can Trick Gengar turn 1, I will take that opportunity. As he's going to go for the Protect turn 1, he does make the good play, as I do go for Trick. This turn I'm going to go out to Greninja, expecting him to go hard out into either his more like his Pinsir, because he doesn't want to potentially risk Chomp getting a Specs, which wouldn't be obviously appreciated like a Scarf would. He doesn't know Mahart yet, it could be Specs or Scarf, so he's going to go out to his Pinsir more than likely this turn, trying to capitalize on the trick, as I am going to go out to my Greninja, which does force him out, and he forces him out into his Coon, and I can get some nice U-turn chip off on the Coon. I could have gone for Dark Pulse there, but Dark Pulse wouldn't have killed Mega Pinsir at all, even if I got a crit, because Mega Pinsir is pretty fat. And I knew that Dark Pulse wouldn't be doing too much to Coon at this amount of HP, so just getting initiative into Pheromosa was important. I am Z Fight, like I just said, so if I can get a Z fighting off on this Coon, then I can put myself in a good spot to have it really low, so something like Specs Ninja can revenge it later on. But we're going to go for Bug Buzz this turn. Just trying to scout out his set, scout out some damage, as also that, you know, had I gone for Z Fight there and he had protected, then that would have been pretty sucky, as this turn I do expect him to protect, just wanting to get some health back and scout for a potential Z move. So I'm going to go for the Focus Blast this turn. Focus Blast would kill if he does decide to stay in and not click Protect. But he does see that I am able to switch up moves, so he knows I'm not choice locked. As this turn he is going to switch out into his Skarmory, as I do fire off the Z fighting, and this is going to destroy Skarm, so it's going to bring him down to his 30. We can now pick up a kill with Bug Buzz. Nothing is really going to appreciate it. Pinsir's going to take a ton if he does want to come in, and Drill wouldn't have risked switching in on the potential Focus Blast there too. So Pinsir's going to revenge, but Pharaoh's done its job. It's really weakened the Coon, and it's put it in range of a couple of Dark Pulses from Greninja. It's also taken out a Skarm, which was more than likely his Hazard stacker, so I don't really have to worry too much about Hazards versus this team now. But Pinsir is definitely a threat. Gonna go into my lander this turn, potentially scare him out with the HP Ice or the Rock Slide, but he does go for sub. Sub pincer is pretty nice because most landos aren't carrying rock coverage at the moment. They're carrying ice coverage for Zygarde, so like pincer kind of walls most landos, except HP Ice will definitely break the sub of the pincer, but he's going to go for the U-turn this turn, as I do make the switch out into my Ferrothorn, knowing I can tank a +2 return if he does decide to go for it, and break his sub in the process with Gyro Ball. As we're going to do a ton, we're going to live on 2 and do a ton to this pincer with Gyro, so we're going to kind of force him to take us out now. If he does want to stay in and click EQ or something like that, I will have my Greninja in the back to revenge it, but he was actually sub SD quick attack return, so mono flying pincer. As now I can go into Gengar, which forces his Suicune to more than likely protect turn 1, as he doesn't want to get tricked. So I'm going to make the switch out to my Greninja. I'm trying to capitalize on his protect, as this means I can start firing off Specs Dark Pulses, and this Suicune, even though it's naturally really fat, isn't really going to appreciate taking a Dark Pulse. He'll more than likely get 2 KO'd from that range of health. But he does decide to let Pheromosa take the damage, which is solid, as Pheromosa wasn't really doing too much versus my team, as I do have the Gengar in the back. But you know, if you weaken Gengar, he could potentially win with Pheromosa, so yeah, not too sure about that play, but he's going to go back into his Coon now, as I am this turn going to fire for Shadow Ball after he does protect. I want to get this thing whittled down a bit lower before Greninja can take it out with, can start spamming Dark Balls, as he's going to Calm Mind up this turn. And I know right now that he is going to protect, wanting to get as much health back as possible, and now my Specs Ninja can come back in and start spamming Dark Balls. Even though he's a +1, I'm Specs, so like my Dark Balls are going to be doing more than Gengar's Shadow Balls would be doing at that range of health. I could potentially crit, and I also can get the flinch with Dark Pulse, so Dark Pulse is definitely my play to spam. He's going to go for the Scald, and it doesn't do too much, but it's doing like a decent amount, and if he gets the burn, which you're going to see he does get the burn this turn, that's pretty unfortunate. It's going to be wearing us down. But his Suicune is at a range of health where it can't take 2 more Dark Pulses, so he will die to the second. So if he does let the Coon take damage here, it will be at a range of health where Gengar can revenge it, but he's going to opt to Calm Mind up here instead of Scalding or even switching that turn. Don't really agree with that play, but it is going to let his Suicune be revenged by my Greninja at this point, so be taken out by my Ninja with the next Dark Ball, so that is really nice. We can get our Ash form off as he doesn't get the double protect, as Greninja is looking in a pretty solid position to win. If I can bring Greninja in, I can get at least 2 Water Shurikens off, barring rocks aren't up, as Burn is doing 6% and I'm at 9, so definitely pretty nice for Ninja, but yeah, we'll see what happens there. So he's going to bring in his Pheromosa. I know this is scarfed, so I am forced to go out into my Heatran on the obvious U-turn. He lost nothing by U-turning that turn, as he's now going to go out to his Garchomp. This turn I'm going to sack off my Heatran, just in case he does want to stay in and get rocks up. If he wanted to stay in and get rocks up, I could have got chip damage off with Earth Power off in this Garchomp. This would have meant that my Gengar has an easier time revenging it, and my Landorus, has to click Earth Power one less time, Earthquake one less time, basically, versus this jump. But he's going to reveal the rocks there, which means that Greninja is essentially dead. It's now a sack, as I can just start spamming EQ. And this Garchomp is now in range to die to Gengar, so he can just click Shadow Ball this turn, as he's going to bring in the Drill here, and this is definitely a threat. I know I can't take it out with a Shadow Ball, even a crit won't be able to take him out, so I do go out to my Landorus, and I am just going to get the Intimidate drop as he decides to Swords Dance up now. If I kill the Excadrill with EQ, I can win with my Gengar after sacking off the Greninja to rocks. But you're going to see he goes with the Iron Head. He does get the flinch, which is definitely annoying. So now Excadrill is going to 2-KO my Landorus. Very unfortunate, but now I can bring in my Gengar, and he got lucky. He just lucked me twice. He lucked me a few times with the Iron Head. Got that nice flinch, which basically secured his Excadrill would live. I need to hit some Focus Blast, so yeah, we hit the first Focus Blast, and Excadrill is going to go down. Now, this is an interesting turn, because If this Pheromosa is scarfed, Ice Beam cannot take Greninja, my Gengar out. Even if he does get a max roll and 2% above the max roll, he can't take me out with Ice Beam. But if I switch out to Greninja and bring Gengar back in on rocks and he's scarfed Ice Beam, he can kill my Gengar with a high enough roll. But I'm forced to click Focus Blast this turn, so yeah, it's pretty hectic. Will we hit Focus Blast? We did hit Focus Blast, and he wasn't actually a scarfed Pheromosa, so it turns out he didn't have a Scarfer yet again, just like game 1. Scarfed Mosa made a lot of sense on this team versus mine. Like, you know, he doesn't really have any way of revenging fast threats, but he chose not to bring a Scarfer. Interesting choice, but I'm not gonna like question it. Like, he's a good player, so like, I still don't like no Scarfer on a team like this. Like, that's so vulnerable to opposing offense. I think, you know, a Scarfer is appreciated, but it could have been like Z-move Pheromosa, so, you know, I can respect that, but Gengar definitely won there. But he did play it nicely to bluff the Scarf, and he did force me into a situation where I more than likely had to press Focus Blast. He also could have been a Quiver Dance set, so had he Quiver Danced on my switch out to Greninja, I also lost because he would have been a +1, and then would have been able to take me out with any attack, barring like fighting attack. So he would have been able to OHKO me with +1 Ice Beam. So I really have to stay in there with Gengar. I didn't really have a choice, and obviously it paid off. So that was my round 3 series versus Fruitdealer for OST. I hope you guys enjoyed. It was definitely a fun series to play. Yeah, shout outs again to my man Ricardo for game 1 and game 3 teams. And obviously, hope you guys enjoyed my game 2 Mega Celebrate team. That team is definitely fun to use. If you guys did enjoy the series, drop a like and let me know in the comments, you know, what you thought of the rounds of our round 3 and the series in general. And I'll catch you guys next time.